Hi everybody, it's Keren here from tuppencecoloured.co.uk and thank you very much for joining me today. This is the card that I've been making today and I've actually got a couple of techniques to share with you today. First one is to show you how I made this background, and the second one is how I made this rose. So stay with me and I will show you. I have two pieces of glossy card and I've just taken a sheet of A4 and cut it in half and then in half again. So I've got two pieces of card that are pretty much the same size, and I've got a piece of wax paper that is big enough to go over them, and it does have to be wax paper, can't be greaseproof paper or baking parchment or anything like that if you're in the UK. We tend to buy it from craft shops here, and I will just crumple that up so that I get a nice texture. Now I'm going to put this on top of my glossy card, which is glossy side up, and then I'm going to take my other piece of glossy card and put it glossy side down. So I've made a sort of a sandwich. I have my dry iron here, which is my crafting iron, and it's dry iron. It's dry only. If your iron is steam iron, couldn't think of the word for a moment, then make sure that it's on dry and there's no water in it, because you don't want that. I've covered this with a cotton cloth. I've got my iron on high. This is a protective heat-proof surface for my work surface, and I'm just going to iron over the top of my card, okay? Just as if I was ironing a shirt. Only this is more fun than ironing a shirt. Okay, so if I take that away and if I lift that up, now I can see, I don't know whether you can, maybe just about, that the wax has transferred onto my glossy card. So now I'm going to put that on one side to cool, and then we'll go on to the next step. So there's my glossy card, and I've got Pink Pirouette, Sweet Sugar Plum and Berry Burst inks, and I'm going to start off with the Pink Pirouette. And I'm just going to rub that over my card. And everywhere that the wax paper texture went into the card, that is acting as a resist. Now that's very, very pale. I don't know whether you can see it, you probably can't, but it is there, it is there. Right, okay, so let's try with some Sweet Sugar Plum. Oops, that's Berry Burst. That nearly went wrong. Well, these are brand new. There you go, now you can start to see that fabulous texture. Just going to layer that on top of the. And finally, let's have some Berry Burst. I don't want too much of it because this is quite a strong colour. So I'm just going to start on the edges here. Wow, look at that pop. And let's have a cloth here. Let's just wipe some of this away. Okay, so you can play with this as much as you like. You can put just one colour, or you can layer up your colours. You can put colour on top of colour, and just have as much fun as you like with it. But that is what you're left with, and that is going to make a fabulous background for a card. There it is, and I've trimmed it down to 3 3/4 by 5 1/2, and that's going to be the panel on the front of my card. This is my card base. It's thick whisper white, and it's 11 1/2 by 4 inches, and scored and folded at 5 3/4. I've got a piece of vellum which is the same size as my glossy card, so that is 3 3/4 by 5 1/2, and that's going to cover the whole of that panel. I'm going to do some stamping, and I'm going to use Dragonfly Dreams, Versamark ink and white embossing powder. I've got some white perfect accents. I'm going to be using those as well. I've got some vellum for die cutting, and I'm using the Flourishes Thinlets to do my die cutting. And I've got a couple of pieces of ribbon. This is the 1/8 of an inch sheer ribbon, and this is Old Olive. And I've got some berry burst finely woven ribbon. Let's do some stamping now. I have my piece of vellum, I have my embossing buddy, and I'm going to cover the front of the vellum with a good coating of the powder from the embossing buddy. My stamp is mounted up on my block. It says, "Enjoy your special day." It would help if I had it the right way up. And I have my well-loved Versamark ink. Doesn't look very pretty, but it still works just fine, and that's all we care about. Okay, so let's try and align this. Yes, get that the right way up. Nearly made an upside down card, and press down. Now this is a photopolymer stamp, so I've got my silicone mat underneath, and I'm giving this plenty of time for the ink to transfer onto the vellum, and I think that's about right. And that's made a good impression onto the vellum there. So now I'm going to get my white embossing powder, we'll go for a tidy tray, and I'm just going to sprinkle that with a nice coat of white embossing powder. I'm going to heat emboss this now, which is going to be a little bit noisy, so I will speed up the recording and turn the sound down, and talk to you again in a second. I'm going to make the ribbon rose next, and I have a length of ribbon which is about 18 inches, 2 feet long, and I'm going to tie a knot in one end, quite a tight knot, and I'm going to get it quite near to the end of the ribbon. And now I'm just going to make a series of loose overhand knots all along the length of the ribbon, and again we'll speed this bit up, because once you've seen one, you've seen them all. Okay, now I think this is going to be the last one. Don't think I'll get another one out of it, and as you can see, I've kept the knots quite loose and I've positioned them close together. Now I don't think I'm going to get another knot out of this. I'm just going to tie a finishing knot, and the finishing knot isn't really essential, particularly in this kind of ribbon, although if you were using something that was a bit more satiny, you might need it to stop your knots untying. Okay, right, so I've got my hot glue gun heating up here. I've got a little piece of scrap card. I'm just going to trim the ends. What have I done with my scissors? Where are my snips? I had them a second ago. Here they are, I can see them. just going to trim off that excess ribbon there, and I'm going to roll up first and then I'm going to glue. Okay, so I'm going to start at one of the knots and I'm just going to roll up the ribbon. I'm just sort of positioning the points of the knots as I go. There we go. And now I have my piece of scrap card here. And my glue gun, has been warming up. I'm going to give that a generous dollop of hot glue. Be very careful not to stick my fingers in it, because it hurts. And I know this, because in the past I have stuck my fingers into hot glue. I do not recommend it. Really, don't do it. Okay, I'm just going to, while the adhesive, the glue is still warm, I'm just going to play with that a bit until I get the shape I like. Bring in my snips and chop away the excess card. Okay. Now I could have punched a nice neat little circle of card to position my rose on, but nobody is going to see it, so I'm not going to bother. Okay. Now my glue gun has turned itself off, because it does that automatically when it's left alone for too long. So I'm just going to turn that back on again, let that heat up again, because I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to take some of the other ribbon, and just waiting for that to come to temperature, which it has. So once again, I'm going to put a bit of hot glue into the centre of my card, and I'm just going to create some ribbon loops. Been over to the big shot and I've die cut out these pieces of vellum, and I think we have everything we need now to start putting the card together. So I'm going to begin with a bit of fast fuse, and I'm going to stick my card front onto my card base. And with fast fuse, the trick is very light touch, much lighter than you would think, and to kind of flick away to break the tape. And I'm going to pop that onto the front of my card. Now I decided that this was a bit too bright and in your face for me, so I wanted to soften the colour down a bit, so that is why I have cut my piece of vellum, and I'm going to stick it down with a couple of glue dots. Now the thing about vellum is that doesn't matter what you do to it, you're always going to be able to see through it, and unless you do a complete edge to edge adhesive on the thing, then it's you know, you're always going to be able to see where that adhesive is. You see, can you see it poking through there just like that? Okay, so we have to cover it up. Now for the main part of the card, we're going to use that rose piece that we made, and we'll use a couple of little vellum leaves. I've had some chance to play with that arrangement, and I'm reasonably happy with it now. So I'm going to stick this onto my vellum where I want it. The card is almost finished. I've put a couple of extra glue dots into the corners at the base of the vellum panel, and although they're not like super obvious, you can definitely see them, and I want to cover them up. So I've got my white perfect accents here, and I'm going to use the smallest of them just to cover up where those glue dots are. Okay, just like that. I'm gonna, even though I've got a leaf over that one, I will put that one more there, just so that, you know, it doesn't look like one's fallen off or something. Okay, and there you go. There it is. There is the finished card, and I very much hope that you like it. And I hope that you'll have a go at making your own wax paper resist background. It was lots of fun to do, very easy, and you get 2 backgrounds for the price of 1. Which can't be bad. But for now, that is it. Thank you very much for joining me, and do come back and see me again soon, won't you? Bye bye.